The desert stretched for miles under the dark sky. The air was cold, and the stars shone like tiny, watching eyes. Jack Carter sat on the hood of his old Jeep, staring at the night. He was a former soldier, now living a quiet life in the middle of nowhere. He liked the silence. No orders, no battles, just him and the empty desert. But that night, the silence broke. A streak of fire cut across the sky. It wasn't a shooting star. It was something bigger, faster. The object roared like thunder as it fell, crashing into the distant hills. The ground shook beneath Jack's feet. "What the hell?" he muttered. He grabbed his rifle from the Jeep and jumped into the driver's seat. His instincts, sharpened by years of war, told him this was no ordinary crash. As he drove toward the impact site, his mind raced. The satellite, a meteor, or something else. The burning trail led him to a smoking crater. The metal was strange, black with glowing blue lines that pulsed like veins. The wreckage hissed as it cooled. Jack stepped closer, finger on the trigger. Suddenly, the metal groaned. A hatch opened with a sharp hiss. A figure stumbled out. It wasn't human. The creature was tall, with skin the color of pale silver. Its hair was long and dark, shimmering like liquid night. Strange armor covered its slender body, scratched and damaged from the crash. The alien collapsed to its knees, clutching the glowing object against its chest. Jack raised his rifle. "Don't move," he barked. The alien looked up. Its eyes were deep violet, glowing faintly in the dark. It was a woman. An alien woman. She didn't raise her hands or speak. She just held the glowing object tighter, breathing heavily. "Stay back," Jack warned. The alien's lips moved. Her voice was soft but firm. "Help. Me." Jack's grip tightened on the trigger. Was this a trap? He didn't trust her, but she looked hurt. Blood, thick and black, dripped from a wound on her side. And then he saw them. 3 hovering drones appeared over the hill. They were sleek and black, with glowing red sensors scanning the ground. One of them locked onto the alien and emitted a mechanical voice. "Target located. Eliminate." The drones fired. Jack didn't think, he acted. He dove forward, knocking the alien down as lasers scorched the ground where she had stood. Rolling to his knees, he aimed his rifle and fired. The bullets sparked against the drone's armor, but didn't break through. One drone shot toward them. "Run," Jack shouted. The alien staggered to her feet, clutching the glowing object. Jack fired again, drawing the drone's attention while the alien limped toward the rocks. The drones moved fast, circling them like hungry predators. Jack spotted an old canyon up ahead. "This way," he called. The alien hesitated, then followed. Jack sprinted alongside her, heart racing. The drones fired again, blasting the ground near their feet. Rocks exploded and heat scorched the air. They reached the canyon's entrance. Jack ducked behind a boulder and fired one last shot, hitting the drone's sensor. It wobbled in the air before crashing into the rocks. Silence returned, but the danger wasn't gone. Jack turned to the alien. "Okay, who the hell are you?" The alien pressed the glowing object against her side. "I am Princess Solara of the Dominion Empire." Jack's eyes widened. "Princess. Empire. What empire?" Solara didn't answer. Instead, she held out the glowing object. It pulsed brighter now, projecting a holographic map in the air. The map showed a vast star field. In the center was Earth, surrounded by red markers moving closer. "They are coming," Solara said, her voice trembling. "They want this. The stellar key." "Who's coming?" Jack asked. "Zinthis," she whispered. "The warlord who destroyed my fleet. He wants the key to control the ancient defense systems. If he gets it, he will destroy Earth and enslave countless worlds." Jack ran a hand through his hair. He had signed up for a quiet life. Now he was standing beside an alien princess, holding a glowing artifact that could doom the planet. The distant hum of engines echoed through the canyon. Solara's eyes widened. They're here. Jack clenched his jaw and tightened his grip on the rifle. Then we better run. The canyon walls echoed with the distant hum of approaching engines. Jack Carter crouched low, his heart hammering in his chest. The glowing red lights of the drones swept across the rocks like hunting eyes. Beside him, Princess Solara clutched the stellar key to her chest. Her breathing was shallow, her silver skin slick with dark blood. "They're scanning the area," Solara whispered, her voice strained. Jack's eyes narrowed. "How many of them are there?" She closed her eyes for a moment. The artifact in her hands pulsed softly, and a faint holographic display appeared. 3 scout drones, she said, and a transport ship. Bigger, heavier. Ground forces. She opened her eyes and met his gaze. "They know I'm still alive." "Great," Jack muttered. He checked his rifle. Half a magazine left. "And who exactly are they?" "You said some warlord named Zinthus." Solara gave a shaky nod. "Zinthus was once a general of the Dominion Empire. My father trusted him. But when the stellar key was found, he betrayed us. The key controls the ancient planetary defense systems across many worlds. With it, he can create an empire of fear. My fleet tried to escape with the key, but he tracked us to Earth and destroyed us." The engines grew louder. Jack peeked around the boulder. The drones were hovering closer, scanning the canyon floor with crimson light beams. "Looks like he sent his goons to finish the job," Jack said grimly. Solara's eyes hardened. "We cannot let them have the key." "Yeah, well, first we need to survive," Jack said. "And I know just the place. Can you run?" She winced as she straightened, pressing the artifact to her side. "I can try." "Good enough. Follow me. And stay low." Jack moved swiftly, hugging the canyon wall. Solara followed, though her steps were unsteady. The drones passed overhead, their lights sweeping dangerously close. Jack led her toward a narrow crack in the rock face. Years ago, he'd discovered an old cave network here, left over from some abandoned mining project. "In here," he whispered. They squeezed into the shadows just as a drone drifted past. Jack pressed his back against the cold stone, holding his breath. The drone paused outside the cave mouth. Its red light flickered as it scanned the entrance. Solara gripped his arm tightly. The faint hum of the artifact pulsed against his skin. The drone hovered for an endless moment, then moved on. Jack exhaled slowly. That was too close. "They're persistent," Solara said. "Zinthus will not stop until he has the key." Jack's mind raced. His survival instincts told him to walk away. He wasn't a soldier anymore. This wasn't his fight. But Earth was his home. And if Solara was telling the truth, this warlord wouldn't stop with her. Earth would burn next. "We need to get to my place," Jack said. "I have gear there, weapons, and a shortwave transmitter. Maybe we can warn someone." Solara's eyes flickered with surprise. "You would help me?" Jack shrugged. "I'm already in this mess. Might as well see it through." They navigated through the twisting cave tunnels for what felt like hours. Jack's flashlight cast long, eerie shadows on the walls. The stellar key glowed faintly, illuminating Solara's pale, tired face. "What's with that thing, anyway?" Jack asked, nodding at the artifact. "It looks like a fancy rock." Solara managed a faint smile. "It was created by the architects, an ancient race that vanished thousands of cycles ago. The Dominion was built on their ruins. The stellar key was their greatest secret. It can awaken planetary defenses, open hidden gateways, and command powerful relics." "Sounds like the ultimate weapon," Jack said. "It is," Solara agreed. "That is why it must never fall into Zinthus's hands. He seeks the Forgotten Crown, an ancient orbital station, armed with weapons capable of destroying entire planets. With the key, he can control it." Jack cursed under his breath. "Yeah, okay. definitely not letting that happen. The cave eventually opened onto a dry riverbed. Dawn was breaking, painting the sky in hues of orange and gold. Jack pointed toward the distant hills. "My cabin's about 2 miles that way," he said. They started walking, keeping low. The desert stretched wide around them, exposed and dangerous. Jack's grip tightened on his rifle as he scanned the sky. Then he heard it. A deep mechanical growl rolled across the desert. Jack turned and saw a black shape rising behind them. The transport ship, a sleek, angular craft with glowing red thrusters, hovered low, kicking up clouds of dust. From its sides, dark figures dropped to the ground. "Troopers," Solara said, her voice tense. "Hunter class. Fast, strong, and relentless." Jack saw their glowing visors and the sleek rifles they carried. The soldiers moved with unnatural coordination, spreading into a search formation. "Run," Jack said. They sprinted across the rocky ground. Solara stumbled but kept going. The ship roared louder as it followed them. Shots cracked through the air, blasting the rocks around them. "Come on," Jack urged. The cabin came into view. An old wooden structure nestled against the rocks. Jack could see the radio antenna jutting above the roof. Safety was just ahead. Then a plasma blast struck the ground at Solara's feet. She cried out and fell hard. The stellar key rolled from her grasp. Jack slid to a stop. The artifact glowed brightly, humming louder than before. The soldiers were closing in. "Go!" Solara shouted. "Save yourself." Jack ignored her. He fired a few wild shots, then lunged for the key. The instant his fingers touched it, the artifact pulsed with blinding light. Symbols swirled across its surface, and a strange energy surged through him. The transport ship's engine screamed as it adjusted course. A voice crackled from its speakers. "Human, surrender the key and live." Jack stood, the stellar key in his hands. Energy hummed through his veins. He looked at Solara, who lay motionless on the ground. He looked at the approaching soldiers. He raised the key. "Come and take it," he said. The artifact flared with brilliant white light. The soldiers opened fire. The forgotten outpost. The world turned into a blinding storm of light and noise. Jack Carter felt the stellar key pulse in his hands like a living heart. The artifact's energy surged through his body, sharp and overwhelming. The plasma blasts from the enemy soldiers struck an invisible barrier around him, sizzling into harmless sparks. The air crackled with power. The soldiers hesitated, their visors glowing red as they recalculated the situation. "Impossible," one muttered. "He's activating the key without interface access." Jack didn't understand what was happening, but he knew an opportunity when he saw one. He gripped the artifact tighter and knelt beside Solara. She was pale, her breathing shallow. Her eyes fluttered open, and she looked at him with confusion. "The key," she whispered. "It's bonded to you." "Yeah, great. We can talk about that later," Jack said. "Right now, we need to move." The soldiers regrouped, switching to heavier weapons. The transport ship above repositioned, its cannons charging. Jack felt the heat rising in the air. "Hold on," he said. The key flared again, instinctively responding to his desperation. A translucent shield expanded around them, just as the transport's main cannon fired. The ground shook beneath the blast, but the shield held. The artifact's symbols swirled faster. Then, with a final pulse, the shield collapsed inward. The world bent around Jack and Solara, and then everything went dark. The sensation of falling ended with a cold shock. Jack landed on a hard surface. The wind knocked out of him. The stellar key clattered beside him, its glow dimming. He groaned and pushed himself up. The air smelled of damp stone and metal. Dim blue lights pulsed along the walls. Solara lay nearby, still breathing but unconscious. Her silver hair was matted with sweat and blood. They were no longer in the desert. The chamber around them was massive, carved from dark stone and metal. The ceiling arched high above, supported by rib-like columns. Strange symbols glowed faintly along the walls. "Where are we?" Jack whispered. The stellar key pulsed softly, as though answering. A faint holographic map appeared in the air. Earth's familiar blue orb hovered at the center, marked by several ancient-looking runes. The display zoomed in, showing a blinking icon deep beneath a mountain range. "We're underground," Jack realized. Some kind of hidden structure. Solara stirred. Her eyes opened slowly, taking in their surroundings. "An architect outpost," she said, her voice weak but certain. "The key brought us here." "Yeah, about that," Jack said. "Why is it reacting to me?" She sat up with difficulty, gazing at the artifact. The stellar key is not just a tool. It chooses a guardian, someone with the will to protect it. My family guarded it for generations, but it has chosen you now. "Great," Jack muttered. "So I'm the key's babysitter." "More than that," she said softly. "The key trusts you to decide who controls its power." Jack ran a hand through his hair. "No pressure, huh?" They needed to regroup. Jack helped Solara to her feet. She winced but stood tall. The chamber had 2 exits. One led into darkness. The other revealed a narrow staircase spiraling downward. "We should go down," Solara said. "The architects built these outposts to hide and protect. There might be defenses we can use." Jack picked up his rifle and the key. "Lead the way, Princess." They descended the staircase. The walls hummed softly as they passed, reacting to the key's presence. The stairway ended at a vast, circular chamber. At the center stood a large pedestal. Strange cables and crystalline conduits spiraled out from its base. The stellar key vibrated in Jack's hand, growing warmer. "Place it there," Solara said. Jack hesitated, then inserted the artifact into the pedestal slot. The structure came to life. The floor beneath them pulsed with energy, and holographic displays lit the air. A deep mechanical voice echoed through the chamber. "Stellar Command Nexus activated. Guardian recognized. Awaiting directives." Jack stared at the glowing text that hovered midair. "Guardian recognized. That can't be good." Solara pointed to the largest hologram. It showed Earth surrounded by dozens of red markers, enemy fleet signatures. The lead ship bore a sigil resembling a jagged crown. "Xynthus," she said, her face tense. "He's coming." The Nexus zoomed in on the largest marker. Data scrolled alongside it. "Warlord Xynthus. Command Ship Dominion's Wrath. Estimated arrival. 72 hours. 72 hours until Earth becomes ground zero," Jack said. "We need help." He searched the interface. His fingers brushed the glowing controls, and the system responded, showing old military frequencies. He found one labeled Earth Defense Emergency Broadcast. Jack opened the channel. Static crackled. Then a voice answered. "This is General Reyes, North American Defense Command. Identify yourself." "General, my name's Jack Carter. I'm with an alien named Princess Solara. She's got a thing called the Stellar Key, and there's a warlord named Xynthus coming to wipe us out. We have about 72 hours. Silence. Then the general spoke again, voice grim. "We've been tracking an unknown fleet inbound. If what you're saying is true, we're going to need proof." Jack looked at Solara. She nodded and tapped the controls. The Nexus transmitted the fleet data. "Receiving the intel now," the general said. After a long pause, he swore softly. "Son of a, that's a Dan invasion force." "All right, Carter, sit tight. We're mobilizing what we can." Jack exhaled. "Good. We'll try to hold the fort until you get here." The transmission cut off. Solara's expression was tight. Earth's forces are strong, but they are not prepared for Dominion technology. If Xynthus takes control of the Forgotten Crown, he won't, Jack said firmly. Suddenly, the Nexus alarms blared. The hologram zoomed to the mountain's surface. Red markers appeared near the entrance shaft. "They found us," Solara said. The transport ship hovered above the outpost entrance. Soldiers were rappelling down the shaft. "He's sending a retrieval team for the key," Jack said. Solara drew a slender, curved blade from her belt. "Then we fight." Jack grinned despite the situation. "Princess, I like your style." The Nexus's mechanical voice interrupted. "Guardian protocols activated. Defensive systems online. Awaiting authorization." Jack tightened his grip on the controls. "All right, Nexus. Let's give them a warm welcome." The walls hummed with power. Ancient turrets emerged from hidden compartments. The enemy soldiers reached the entrance. The first plasma shot crackled through the air. The battle had begun. The battle for the outpost. The ancient walls of the architect outpost trembled as enemy forces breached the surface tunnel. The metallic hum of the Nexus filled the chamber, vibrating through the stone like a dormant beast awakening. Jack Carter gripped his rifle while the stellar key pulsed softly on the control pedestal. Hostile forces entering perimeter. The Nexus intoned. Deploying automated defenses. Jack glanced at the holographic display. Red dots marked the enemy's positions, swarming through the surface corridor. The Nexus activated defense turrets hidden along the tunnel walls. Streams of plasma fire erupted from concealed ports, forcing the soldiers to scatter. "That's buying us time," Jack said. "But they'll adapt. These guys don't seem like amateurs." Princess Solara stood beside him, her breathing shallow, but her grip steady on her blade. Her violet eyes glimmered as she watched the enemy forces shift their tactics on the hologram. "They're Dominion hunters," she said grimly. "Elite ground forces trained to counter advanced tech. The Nexus turrets won't hold them for long." "Terrific," Jack muttered. "So what's the plan, Princess? I'm new to this interstellar war thing." Solara knelt beside the control pedestal, her fingers tracing the glowing runes. "We need to secure the command core deeper underground. If we can reach the primary interface, we might activate the outpost's full defenses." Jack watched the enemy troops regroup on the display. "Might." Solara gave a faint smile. "The architects left these systems dormant for millennia. Activating them is unpredictable." Jack sighed. "Unpredictable sounds better than dead. Let's move." The descent. The stellar key detached from the pedestal as Jack picked it up. It pulsed warm against his palm, almost like it recognized him. The walls around the chamber dimmed as the artifact left the interface. "This way," Solara said, moving toward a secondary corridor. Her steps were unsteady, but determination burned in her eyes. They passed through a narrow passage lined with faintly glowing symbols. The air grew colder with each step. The hum of the Nexus faded, replaced by a distant mechanical groan. The passage opened into a cavernous shaft with a narrow metal bridge spanning the void. The depths below disappeared into darkness. Solara activated a small control panel. The bridge's surface lit up with soft blue light, guiding their path. Jack looked down into the abyss. "I really hope the architects were better engineers than decorators." Solara stepped onto the bridge. "Don't look down." Too late. They reached the other side without incident. Another sealed door blocked their path. Solara placed her hand on the interface, and ancient mechanisms whirred to life. The door hissed open, revealing a vast chamber bathed in blue light. At its center stood a colossal sphere suspended in midair, covered in swirling runes. Thick cables connected it to the walls like veins feeding a giant heart. "The command core," Solara said softly. The stellar key in Jack's hand vibrated. "What do we do?" Solara pointed to a console at the base of the sphere. "Insert the key. The core will recognize you as the new guardian. Then we can activate the planetary defenses." Jack moved toward the console, heart pounding. He slid the key into the glowing slot. The core reacted instantly. The runes flared to life, spinning faster around the sphere. Energy surged through the cables, making the ground tremble. Primary command core online. Stellar Guardian recognized. Awaiting defensive protocols. The holographic interface expanded, revealing Earth's orbit. Red markers swarmed the outer edges. They've sent more ships, Jack said. Felara pointed at a cluster of symbols. The Nexus can activate the orbital defense platforms. Earth's military will need all the help it can get. Jack tapped the control. The command sphere pulsed as dormant satellites in orbit powered up. Plasma turrets extended from hidden stations above Earth, preparing to engage the enemy fleet. Suddenly, the chamber shook with a deafening blast. The door behind them crumpled inward. Smoke billowed into the room, followed by the heavy clank of armored footsteps. Jack raised his rifle. Solara gripped her blade. From the shadows emerged a figure in obsidian black armor. The helmet was smooth and featureless, except for a crimson visor shaped like a jagged crown. "That's him," Solara whispered. "Xynthus." The warlord stopped a few paces away, his armored soldiers fanning out behind him. The air crackled with tension. "You've done well, Princess," Xynthus said, voice cold and metallic. "You've led me straight to the key." Solara's jaw tightened. "You'll never have it." The warlord tilted his head. "You don't have to die here. Give me the key, and I'll spare this planet. Resist, and Earth burns." Jack tightened his grip on the stellar key. He could feel its energy waiting, ready to respond. "Yeah, I've heard the surrender or die speech before," Jack said. "Doesn't usually end with milk and cookies." Xynthus's visor flickered. "You must be the human anomaly. The key shouldn't respond to you. And yet, here you stand. Interesting." He raised his hand. The soldiers opened fire. Jack dove behind the console, dragging Solara with him. Plasma bolts scorched the floor where they'd stood. "Any chance the Nexus has weapons down here?" Jack shouted. Solara tapped the interface, releasing defense drones now. Small spherical drones emerged from the walls, firing rapid bursts of energy at the enemy. The soldiers returned fire, forcing the drones into evasive maneuvers. Xynthus strode forward, unfazed by the chaos. A glowing spear extended from his wrist. Jack peeked over the console and fired at the warlord's chest. The bullet sparked harmlessly against his armor. "That didn't work," Jack muttered. "We need to overload the core," Solara said. "The resulting energy blast will destroy the outpost. And them." "And us?" Jack asked. Solara met his eyes. "Yes." Jack cursed. The drones were being picked off one by one. Xynthus advanced toward the console. "We can't let him get the key," Solara said. Jack's mind raced. There had to be another way. The core's holographic display showed the orbiting defense platforms charging up. An idea struck him. "The core has access to orbital weapons, right?" he asked. Solara nodded. "Yes, but they're locked to planetary defense protocols." "Not anymore," Jack said. He placed his hand on the interface and focused. The stellar key pulsed in response. "Guardian override acknowledged. Target designation required." Jack pointed to the red figure representing Xynthus. "Target locked," the system confirmed. Xynthus seemed to realize what was happening. He lunged toward them. "Fire!" Jack shouted. High above, Earth's orbital platforms adjusted their aim. A blinding beam of energy surged downward through the crust, guided by the Nexus's subterranean relays. The chamber exploded with searing white light. The aftermath and the revelation. The world shattered into blinding white light, followed by a deafening roar that consumed everything. Jack Carter felt himself lifted off the ground, the force of the blast hurling him backward. Heat lashed at his skin, and the floor cracked beneath him. His ears rang with a sharp, piercing whine. For a moment, there was no sound, no sense of direction, only disorientation and pain. He hit the ground hard, the impact knocking the breath from his lungs. Darkness threatened to pull him under, but the faint pulse of the stellar key in his grip anchored him to consciousness. The light faded. The rumbling subsided into groans of shifting metal and crumbling stone. Jack forced his eyes open. The command core was gone, obliterated by the orbital strike. Smoke and crackling energy filled the cavern. The walls trembled, fissures spiderwebbing across the ancient structure. He coughed, each breath sharp with dust and scorched air. Solara. No answer. He pushed himself to his knees. His limbs screamed with pain. His gaze swept across the ruined chamber. The Nexus interface was shattered, its glowing runes dark. The colossal core that had once hovered like a celestial heart was now a jagged crater. Then he saw her. Princess Solara lay crumpled against the far wall, half buried under debris. Her armor was scorched, and her silver skin glimmered with dark patches of alien blood. "Hang on, Princess," Jack muttered. He crawled toward her, pain gnawing at every movement. The stellar key vibrated faintly, as though sensing his desperation. He shoved the debris aside with trembling hands and checked her pulse. Her chest rose and fell, shallow but steady. "Still breathing," Jack whispered in relief. The ground beneath them rumbled again. The structural integrity of the ancient outpost was failing. "Come on, Solara," he said, slipping his arms under her. She groaned softly but didn't wake. The stellar key, still gripped in his right hand, pulsed with increased urgency. "Guardian directive. Evacuation route available." A faint mechanical voice crackled through the smoke. Jack turned toward the sound. A section of the far wall slid open, revealing a dimly lit passage. "Thanks for the assist," Jack said to the artifact. He hoisted Solara onto his shoulder and stumbled toward the exit. The cavern groaned as more debris rained from above. Flames licked along the walls, casting chaotic shadows. Behind them, the ground collapsed into the dark abyss, the hidden passage. The narrow passage twisted downward, illuminated by faint blue lights embedded in the walls. Jack's legs burned with exertion, but he kept moving. Solara's weight dragged on him, yet he refused to slow down. The key guided him, its glow intensifying whenever the path forked. The hum of the crumbling outpost faded behind them. After what felt like an eternity, the passage opened into a circular chamber with a single platform at its center. "Evacuation platform active," the mechanical voice announced. Jack staggered to the platform and collapsed to his knees. The floor shifted beneath them. A low hum rose as the platform descended through the rock. As they moved deeper, the air grew cooler and cleaner. The walls transformed from ancient stone to sleek black metal etched with glowing symbols. The platform stopped. A door slid open, revealing a dimly lit control room. Consoles lined the walls, all of them active despite the destruction above. A single large screen dominated the center, displaying Earth and the incoming Dominion fleet. Solara stirred, her eyes fluttering open. "Jack." Yeah, I'm here," he said softly. She blinked, confusion giving way to alarm. "Xynthus. Blow him to hell. I dropped Earth's orbital defense grid on him," Jack said. "Pretty sure he's fried." Solara tried to sit up, groaning in pain. "He's more than armor and weapons. Xynthus is cunning. If he survived." Jack's jaw tightened. "Then we'll finish him next time." She gave a faint nod. Her eyes shifted to the screen. "They're still coming." Jack followed her gaze. The Dominion fleet remained on course. The lead warship, Dominion's Wrath, was now flanked by 5 other cruisers. "Looks like frying Xynthus's ground team didn't stop the invasion," Jack said. "They'll hit Earth in less than 48 hours. Solara pointed to the lower section of the screen. "That's the Forgotten Crown." Jack leaned closer. The massive orbital station loomed near Earth's orbit, its jagged design resembling an ancient crown suspended in the void. "That station," Solara said, voice trembling. "It's the architect's ultimate weapon. If Xynthus gets control of it, he can destroy Earth's defenses with a single command." Jack stared at the stellar key in his hand. "And this thing can control it?" "Yes," Solara said, "but only if we reach it before him." Jack exhaled slowly. "So we need a ship." Solara gestured toward the far wall. "There might be one here. The architects built these outposts with emergency vessels. The control interface responded to her voice. A section of the floor opened, revealing a hidden hangar below. The ancient ship. The hangar held a single spacecraft, sleek and angular, with smooth metallic plating and faint blue etchings that glowed like veins. The design was unlike anything Jack had ever seen. Solara's eyes widened. An architect starpiercer. These ships can bend space without leaving a detectable trail. Jack whistled softly. Stealth tech. Nice. Let's hope it still runs. They boarded the vessel. The interior was Spartan but functional. The control interface responded immediately to the stellar key. Stellar Guardian detected. Flight systems online. Destination required. Jack settled into the pilot's seat. Take us to the Forgotten Crown. The ship hummed with energy. The walls shimmered as the vessel's surface adapted to its surroundings. Engaging subspace shift, the system announced. Outside the viewport, the rocky cavern blurred. Space itself twisted, folding inward. Jack gripped the controls. Solara sat beside him, her hand resting lightly on the console. This is bigger than Earth, she said softly. If Xynthus controls the crown, he'll enslave entire star systems. My people, your people, all of us. Yeah, Jack said, jaw tight. We stop him here. The ship emerged from the subspace corridor. The vastness of space greeted them. Earth floated like a fragile blue marble in the distance. And there, in high orbit, loomed the Forgotten Crown. The station spanned miles, its surface covered in intricate geometric patterns. Energy conduits glowed faintly along its structure. Closer to the station, the Dominion fleet approached like sharks circling wounded prey. The lead vessel, Dominion's Wrath, dwarfed the others. Its massive cannons glowed as they powered up. He's here, Solara whispered. The sensors locked onto the enemy flagship. The readout displayed life signatures. Wait, Jack said, eyes narrowing. That can't be right. The main readout zoomed in on the Dominion's Wrath. A single signature glowed with unusual intensity. He's still alive, Jack muttered. Solara's expression hardened. Xynthus survived the blast. He's coming for the crown. The communication system crackled. A cold, familiar voice echoed through the cockpit. You can't stop me, human, Xynthus said. The crown will be mine, and Earth will burn. The Forgotten Crown's dormant systems stirred, its central core pulsing faintly. He's trying to interface with the station, Solara said. Jack tightened his grip on the stellar key. Not if we get there first. The Starpiercer accelerated toward the station. The final battle had begun. The final race for the crown. The architect Starpiercer hummed as it streaked through the void toward the Forgotten Crown. Space around the ship bent in rippling waves, rendering it nearly invisible to Dominion scanners. Jack Carter gripped the control sticks, eyes fixed on the massive station. The intricate patterns on the crown's surface glowed with faint blue lines, pulsing like a waking giant. Beside him, Princess Solara monitored the ship's systems. Her pale silver skin was still streaked with dark blood, but her posture remained firm. The violet glow of her eyes reflected the swirling holograms on the control console. Xynthus has already begun the interface process, she said, voice tight. The crown's core is responding to his command signals. Jack's gaze shifted to the holographic display. The enemy fleet clustered near the station, forming a blockade. The warlord's flagship, Dominion's Wrath, loomed largest. Energy tendrils extended from the ship toward the station like predatory tentacles. What's he doing? Jack asked. He's establishing control, Solara replied. The crown's systems are ancient, but once linked, the key will no longer matter. He'll have direct command of its planetary weapons. Jack clenched his jaw. So if we don't stop him in time, Earth becomes ash, she finished. The comm system crackled. I know you're out there, Guardian, came Xynthus's voice, smooth and predatory. The key calls to me. Bring it to me, and I'll spare your planet. Resist, and your world will burn. Jack muted the channel. Yeah, no thanks. He pushed the throttle forward. The Starpiercer accelerated, weaving through debris from destroyed Dominion scout drones. How do we get past the fleet? Jack asked. Solara tapped the console. This ship has advanced cloaking. If we stay beneath their sensor field, we can reach the docking ring. But the closer we get, the more likely they'll detect us. Then we go fast and quiet, Jack said. The ship adjusted trajectory, skimming the station's surface. The colossal structure stretched beneath them like a vast, frozen labyrinth of geometric patterns. The rooms that covered the surface glowed brighter the closer they got to the core. Why does the crown look like it's waking up? Jack asked. Solara's expression darkened. Because it is. The crown isn't just a weapon. It's a living system. The architects designed it to respond to planetary threats. Zinthus is feeding it his intent, destruction. Jack cursed under his breath. Then we need to get inside before it fully wakes up. The docking ring came into view, a circular port with retractable arms extending from the station's spine. Activating docking clamps, Solara said. The Starpiercer's engines dimmed. The vessel aligned with the docking arm and latched onto the structure with a metallic thud. Sealing the airlock, she added. Jack stood, strapping the stellar key to his tactical vest. Weapons. Solara retrieved 2 alien sidearms from a compartment. The weapons pulsed with blue energy. She handed one to Jack. They fire directed plasma bolts. Aim for the sensors on Dominion armor. Got it, Jack said, tucking the pistol into his belt. He patted his old rifle. But I'm sticking with the classics too. Solara smirked faintly. Spoken like a true human. The airlock hissed open. The station's heart. The corridor beyond the airlock was cold and dim. The walls were smooth metal with intricate glowing symbols tracing their length. The air was thin but breathable. The core chamber is directly above us, Solara said, consulting a holographic map. If we can insert the stellar key into the crown's command interface, we can override Zinthus's control. And if we can't? Jack asked. Then Earth dies, she said simply. Jack took point, moving cautiously. The key pulsed faintly through his vest. The crown seemed to sense its presence, guiding them through the twisting corridors. They reached an intersection. Jack held up a fist. Wait. Footsteps echoed from the right corridor. Sleek black-armored Dominion soldiers advanced in formation. Their helmets were smooth and featureless, except for glowing red visors. Down, Jack hissed. He and Solara ducked into a maintenance alcove. The soldiers paused near the intersection, scanning the walls. Solara held her breath. The energy pistol in her hand vibrated softly. The lead soldier raised his weapon and fired into the wall inches above Jack's head. Stone exploded in a shower of sparks. Move, Jack shouted. They sprang from the alcove. Jack fired his rifle, hitting one soldier square in the chest. The bullet sparked off the armor but cracked the visor. The Dominion warrior staggered. Solara fired a precise plasma shot. The bolt struck the damaged visor. The soldier dropped without a sound. The remaining Dominion forces advanced with military precision. Plasma fire scorched the air. Back up the stairs, Jack shouted. They retreated into an ascending corridor. Jack lobbed a small explosive charge behind them. The blast collapsed the passage, slowing the soldiers. That won't stop them long, Solara warned. Doesn't need to, Jack said, panting. Just needs to slow them down. The core chamber. The corridor ended at a massive circular door. Rooms covered its surface, glowing brighter as they approached. Solara placed her hand on the door. The rooms shifted beneath her palm. The door groaned open, revealing the core chamber. At the center of the vast room floated a colossal crystalline structure, suspended by invisible forces. Energy coursed through its translucent surface, crackling like a storm trapped in ice. Dozens of holographic interfaces surrounded the core, displaying orbital trajectories and targeting coordinates. Earth hovered in one projection, circled by red crosshairs. "He's locking onto Earth's major cities," Solara said, voice tight. A platform extended toward the core's base. A control pedestal awaited the stellar key. "Let's finish this," Jack said. They sprinted toward the pedestal. Jack drew the key from his vest. The artifact vibrated with growing intensity. He reached the pedestal and inserted the key into the slot. The chamber came alive. The core flared with blinding blue light. Symbols spiraled across the walls. The floor trembled as the crown's systems activated. Stellar key accepted. Guardian recognized. Defense systems available. Jack exhaled. "Okay, now we just need tow." The chamber lights shifted to crimson. Solara's eyes widened. "He's here." A section of the wall disintegrated. From the smoke stepped Warlord Xynthus. His armor was scarred from the orbital strike, but the core plating remained intact. The red glow of his visor burned like a predator's glare. "You are persistent, human," Xynthus said, voice metallic and cold. His gaze shifted to Solara. "And you, princess, always defiant. But it ends here." "You're not getting the crown," Jack said. Xynthus extended his arm. A crackling energy spear ignited from his wrist. "The crown was never yours to protect. Step away, and I'll make your deaths quick." Jack grinned grimly. "Yeah, see, we don't do surrender." He slammed his palm onto the console. "Orbital defenses. Activate," Jack commanded. The crown responded instantly. The holographic display shifted, showing Earth's orbital defense grid coming online. The dormant satellites powered up and locked onto the Dominion fleet. The comm channel crackled. "This is General Reyes, North American Defense Command. We see the activation." "Is that you, Carter?" "Yeah," Jack said, breathing hard. "The crown's ours. Fire everything you've got." "Copy that. Engaging now." The final fight. Xynthus roared with fury. He charged across the platform, spear raised. Jack raised his rifle and fired. The bullets struck the warlord's armor, slowing him, but not stopping him. Solara leaped between them, blade flashing. She parried the energy spear with her sword, the clash of plasma on metal ringing through the chamber. "Override the crown," Solara shouted. Jack turned to the console. The holographic interface displayed Earth's defense grid aligning on the Dominion fleet. Xynthus swung his spear, knocking Solara backward. She hit the ground hard. Jack raised his rifle, firing again. Xynthus deflected the bullets with a casual swipe of his spear. "Fool," the warlord snarled. "This power is beyond you." The spear shot forward, impaling Jack through the shoulder. Pain exploded through his body. The force lifted him off his feet and pinned him against the console. "Earth dies," Xynthus whispered, leaning closer. Jack's vision blurred from pain. The stellar key pulsed beneath his hand. "Not today," Jack gasped. He grabbed the spear with one hand and slammed his other fist onto the control panel. "Crown override. Target Dominion fleet. Fire planetary defense systems." The core flared. High above, Earth's orbital platforms unleashed beams of concentrated plasma. The Dominion cruisers exploded one by one. The Dominion's wrath shuddered as its engines were ripped apart. "No," Xynthus roared. The station trembled as feedback surged through the core. The warlord lunged at Jack. Solara, bloodied but standing, drove her blade through Xynthus's back. The warlord froze. The red glow of his visor flickered. Solara twisted the blade. "For my people," she whispered. Xynthus collapsed. The core stabilized. The red targeting reticle vanished from Earth. Jack sagged against the console, breath ragged. The stellar key cooled in his hand. Solara knelt beside him. "You did it," she said softly. Jack smiled weakly. "Yeah, Earth's safe, But I'm gonna need a vacation after this. She laughed through her tears. Me too, Jack. Me too. The aftermath, and the new dawn. Silence fell over the forgotten crown. The core's blue light dimmed to a gentle pulse, its storm-like energy calming into serene waves. The faint hum of the ancient systems echoed through the chamber like the slow, steady breathing of a giant finally at peace. Jack Carter slumped against the command console. His shoulder throbbed where the energy spear had pierced him. Blood soaked his jacket, and his vision swam with exhaustion. The stellar key, still embedded in the control interface, pulsed faintly beneath his hand. Princess Scalara knelt beside him. Her silver skin, stained with dark blood, glistened under the core's light. Her violet eyes were filled with exhaustion, but also relief. "It's over," she whispered. Jack forced a grin. "Yeah, easy, right?" Scalara laughed softly, though the sound was strained. She looked toward Synthesis's fallen body. The warlord's armor was scorched and motionless. The glowing red visor had dimmed to black. His lifeless form lay sprawled across the metal floor like a broken shadow. For years, he terrorized entire systems. Scalara said, "All that ambition, all that cruelty, ended here." She touched the hilt of her blade still lodged in his back. "My father never believed anyone could stop him." Jack winced as he shifted to sit upright. Sometimes it takes stubborn humans to solve alien problems. She turned toward him, a faint smile tugging at the corner of her lips. "Yes, it seems humanity is full of surprises." The core chamber trembled as if echoing her words. The broadcast. The control console flickered. The holographic interface shifted to display Earth's orbit. The Dominion fleet was shattered. Trails of glowing debris spiraled toward Earth's atmosphere. The Dominion's wrath had been split in two by the orbital defense platform's assault. The comm crackled. "This is General Reyes, Earth Defense Command. Carter, do you copy?" Jack tapped the control with his good hand. "Still breathing, General. Mostly." "Good to hear your voice, son. We saw the energy spike from the crown and the fleet's collapse. What's your status?" "Mission accomplished," Jack said. He glanced at Synthesis's body. "The warlord's down. The crown's defenses are ours now." A pause. "Damn good work," Reyes said. "We're mopping up the stragglers in low orbit. Earth's secure." "Good, because I'm running out of bullets," Jack said, his voice cracking with fatigue. Scalara placed her hand on his arm. "We did it," she whispered. Jack nodded. "Yeah, we did." The crown's revelation. The stellar key vibrated beneath Jack's hand. The core chamber darkened. The glowing lines along the walls shifted into new patterns. The core's surface split open like a blooming flower, revealing a crystalline structure at its center. The mechanical voice of the architects resonated through the room. Guardian protocols completed. Planetary defense restored. Awaiting next directive. Jack exchanged a glance with Scalara. "On. Next directive." The interface shifted, showing a holographic projection of the Milky Way galaxy. Numerous systems were highlighted in red. Scalara inhaled sharply. The Dominion Empire, or what remains of it. The projection zoomed in on clusters of red icons. Each represented planets scared by Synthesis conquests. The data indicated orbital stations, slave camps, and resource extraction sites across dozens of worlds. Jack's jaw tightened. "These are the worlds he conquered." "Yes," Scalara said softly. "Millions of lives enslaved or destroyed. His legacy of terror." The core's voice returned. Guardian command capability detected. Stellar key linked to Architect Defense Network. Systems available for liberation protocols. Jack sat up straighter. "Wait, this thing can do more than defend Earth." Scelara's eyes widened with realization. The architects built these stations to protect civilizations, not just one world. The Crown can activate dormant defense systems across the sector. The interface shifted again, showing long-forgotten stations hidden on distant planets. weapons platforms, and shield generators designed to protect innocent worlds. "We could free them," Solara said, wonder in her voice. "We could destroy the remnants of Xanthus's forces and end the Dominion Empire's reign forever." Jack ran a hand through his hair. "I signed up for peace and quiet in the desert," he muttered. She smiled. The universe had other plans. Jack exhaled slowly, staring at the glowing stellar key. It pulsed gently, waiting for his decision. "Guardian command authorization required to initiate liberation protocols," the voice said. He placed his hand on the console. "Activate the protocols," Jack said. "Let's finish what we started." The crown's core surged with light. Energy rippled outward, transmitting signals across the galaxy. The dormant architect defense stations, forgotten sentinels on distant worlds, woke from their millennia-long slumber. One by one, the red markers on the holographic map turned blue. The oppressed worlds were no longer defenseless. The return to Earth. 3 hours later, Jack and Solara stood aboard the Starpiercer, watching Earth grow larger in the viewport as they descended through the atmosphere. The scars of the battle were visible. Debris streaked the skies, and smoke rose from damaged defense sites. But Earth still turned, resilient and defiant. Solara sat beside Jack. Her wounds had been treated, though the exhaustion lingered in her posture. "You really think those architect systems will stay online?" Jack asked. She nodded. The technology was designed to protect, not conquer. Xanthus misused it, but now the balance is restored. Jack smirked. "So we just liberated a bunch of alien worlds. Does that make us cosmic revolutionaries?" "Perhaps," she said, smiling. "Or simply fools who couldn't turn away." "Yeah, sounds about right." The ship glided toward a military landing zone near Earth Defense Command. Soldiers waited on the ground, their uniforms dirtied from the recent battle. The landing gear deployed with a soft hiss. Jack winced as he stood. Solara supported him as they descended the ramp. General Rice approached. His face was lined with fatigue, but lit with relief. "Welcome back to Earth, Carter," the general said, saluting. "Hell of a job." "Yeah," Jack said. "You're welcome." Rice chuckled. "We intercepted the architect signals you sent out. Reports are already coming in. Dominion forces are retreating across the sector. You two just changed the balance of power in this galaxy." Jack looked at Solara. "What now?" he asked. Her eyes softened. "The architect systems are active. Worlds that were enslaved will rise again. But the Dominion has hidden fleets, secret strongholds. We must find them and end this threat for good." "You're talking about another war," Jack said. "A war to free those still in chains," she said softly. Jack sighed. "Guess I can cancel my retirement plans." Solara extended her hand. "We fight together, Jack. You are the guardian of the key, and you have already proven you never back down." He shook her hand. "Yeah, well, someone's got to keep you aliens out of trouble." Epilogue. The signal. Weeks later, from a hidden Dominion relay station on a barren moon, a single transmission crackled through the void. The screen showed a figure seated in shadow. A voice, distorted but familiar, spoke. "The war is not over. The crown was merely the beginning. The architect's secrets run deeper than they know. The guardian will fall. Earth will burn." The figure leaned forward. The shattered visor of Xanthus glinted in the dim light. "Prepare the fleets. We reclaim what is ours." The signal cut out. In the endless night of space, old shadows stirred once more.